Hello, second grade. This is our Skyline project. This one's fun. The supplies that you'll need for this project recommended is your background color. I like purple. It could be blue. It's going to be your sky color. So I do it at night, so I like the purple for the nighttime. I think it looks nice. Black for our buildings. Yellow for our windows and doors that we cut out. You need scissors, glue, and then you can use pencil, but also I'm going to use a white crayon because hopefully it will show up better on camera to draw our skyline drawing on our black paper. Okay? I'm going to share my screen with you. So we'll talk about the project before I show you how to make it. Okay. So our skyline picture, what is a skyline? I think the answer to that, a skyline is this line that defines the buildings, okay, all along here, these skyscrapers against the sky. Okay, that creates a skyline. So it can be most typically, or in this sense, we're talking about buildings, but it could also be trees that might be here that might separate the sky from the ground or what's in the foreground, like the water is in the foreground is closest to us. So this building and these lines that go along the building is our skyline. Okay, we are going to cut out of black paper the silhouette, which is just the outline shape filled in solid black of our buildings, using rectangles and some triangles to make it look like buildings, and then the windows to really drive home the idea of buildings. Of course, this is downtown Pittsburgh. There's the point. Artists throughout time have utilized the skyline to create beautiful pictures. Claude Monet, a French painter. Here's a nice skyline. We have the buildings in the background, but really you could follow along this tree. But then down here, follow up along all of these buildings. Now he has color and definition in the buildings, but often because the light source is the sun here that's setting behind the buildings, when the light goes directly behind an object, you lose a lot of color that's of the object. It becomes black and like a silhouette. And so, his are dark, but ours we're going to use the black paper. But that's often a technique that is used when painting. This is Van Gogh. This one's a little bit different because we have the mountain that really separates the sky from our town here. But again, there's the little peak of the church comes up and breaks that line, and then also our cypress bush here. So I like to reference this one. This is Starry Night. We will look at this. We've looked a lot at this painting a lot in first grade, and we continue to look at it. So yes, our skyline is that line that's here. So we are going to create that shape, cutting it out of the black paper. Okay, something similar to this. Okay, so we have our background color. We are going to cut the black all along to make it look like buildings. And then when you add the windows in with the yellow paper, it really, really drives it home that it looks like buildings and looks pretty good. Okay? All right, so let me switch to my video. Okay, so we are going to glue everything to your background color paper. So you can kind of almost set it aside for now because we're going to cut out our buildings first. So here's the black paper. We want to make our buildings all in one line and cut it. So think of really simple shapes that would make up the buildings. Also, we don't want to start really low or really tall. If we start really big and fill this in, we lose a lot of the background that's important. If we start really little, we don't have enough impact from our buildings. So somewhere right about here is pretty good to start. And then we just want to make a series of rectangles. So think of a building. So I have a skyscraper that comes up. Maybe there's a little point to this one. This comes down. And vary the height and thickness of each building. Okay, so we have those. So maybe this one comes down. Okay, so there's my skyline of my buildings. Now I'm going to very carefully cut this out. One trick that might be helpful in these tighter areas is coming in and cutting from the top and getting rid of all that excess paper. So you don't have that in the way. and you're not trying to make a lot of bends with your scissors. But either way, depending on how comfortable you feel cutting this out. I think what is going to make it read a lot like buildings, or look better in the end, is if you have really crisp corners, because the buildings are they're geometric. They're made of the building materials that have really exact corners and right angles. So if we have less rounded edges and more straight lines and exact corners, it's going to read a little more like a clean building. Okay, so cut that out, set that aside. Now, if you chose to draw your buildings with the white crayon and it's visible, you can always flip your paper over and use the other side. Put that little part off. Okay, so then you won't see the white. So I can slide the scraps out of the way, lay my paper here. Okay, so there's my buildings against this purple sky. I really like the purple. It could be gray, it could be blue, whatever you prefer. So then I'm going to take my glue, and I'm going to put some glue on this. You want to make sure if you're using any glue, but you kind of get to the points of it, because those are going to be the areas that tend to flap around if we don't put glue up there. So whether you're using a glue stick or the glue bottle, just a little bit, but try to get it all to the edges. When you line this up, try to be as careful as you can. Line up the edges, the bottom and the sides the best that you can. Smooth these out. You get a little excess glue that comes out on here. Don't stress about it too much. It'll dry clear. You want to try not to smear it around, because the more you smear it around, the more it might show. So if you get a little bit, just kind of let it be. All right. So I have my buildings, and now I'm ready for the windows. So I'm going to take my gold paper, and I'm going to cut. I'm going to need a few of them. So what I'm going to do is cut a thin strip to start, and then I'm just going to cut some small rectangles to add. You don't need a ton of windows, just a few here and there, really kind of make the buildings come alive a little bit. Okay. Shape those. So then decide where you might put that. Let me get all this here. I'm just going to put a dab of glue where I think I want a couple of the buildings, or the windows. Be mindful if you have all the extra glue. Again, if it comes out a little bit, that's the tricky part about the glue bottles, is it might have a lot of excess on your windows. So a glue stick might be easier. I'm just using this little X-Acto knife to stick these down. You can also lay them down with your hand as well. Put these in place, try to keep them straight. And after our windows, the last thing, if you decide to do it, is to add Crescent Moon to your sky. Right, so I think the windows, just a few here and there. I'd probably put one on that building, really make them come alive. You want the Crescent Moon shape. Okay, start to cut out a circle, or cut out a circle of the size that you want. Okay, so I make that a little smaller. Then I have my moon up here. And some students in the past have, cut out stars, and you could certainly do that, or anything else you want to put in the sky. Okay, so there we go. We have our skyline at night with our windows cut out of paper. Okay, good luck. I'll be excited to see you guys make these.